Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky of Break of Day Capital. I talk to leading experts to discuss a wide range of subjects to educate investors on best-in-class practices to build legacy wealth and positively impact communities. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investor Podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Perry Zheng, who I've known for a few years now. Perry is the founder and CEO of Cashflow Portal, a modern syndication software that we actually use. He was an engineering manager at Lyft for 5.5 years and worked as a software engineer at Twitter and Amazon before that. Perry is also a lead sponsor in over 1,000 units. Welcome to the show, Perry. Can you start by telling the listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Choosing the right insurance coverage for multifamily properties isn't that complicated if you know who to talk to. At the Garzella Group, we're uniquely qualified to help you navigate the range of policy choices you have, and we're committed to saving you 30% in the process. We do intensive market research and have nationwide relationships, so we can find coverage other insurance brokers simply can't. We should talk. Go to quotenow.biz and we'll start the conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gary, for having me on the show. My name is Perry Zheng. I'm the founder and CEO of Cashflow Portal. I am located in Seattle. The company is in Seattle. I have my background in tech, and then I started becoming a lead syndicator on a few apartment complex deals. And the company is a combination of my engineering background and my real estate syndication experience.
Well, we were shopping for a new portal. I forget the timeline. I don't know, 6 months ago. We were having problems with ours, and I wasn't involved at all. I had my operations person go through all the different kinds, and she said, Cashflow Portal is the best. Let's do this. And she was really gung ho. So I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about that and talk about the benefits of it, because I know as a syndicator, it saves me so much time and energy putting everything up on the portal, having the K1s there, the deal, everything that an investor needs saves me time and money, so we could focus on what we need to focus on. But talk a little bit about your portal and how it's different from others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, we measure operations person, virtually going through the whole migration process, and they have been amazingly professional. So, kudos to building a world-class team there. For us, so the experience is coming from my own syndication journey, where initially the first deal was just spreadsheets. So if one does not have a portal, you have to send the DocuSigns to all the investors. They sign it, and you as a general partner needs to countersign the documents. And it's not like one document. It's actually one document with different variations because the signature blocks are different for different types of investors. If they are an individual, they are LLC, joint tenancy, or IRA custodian, they sign in different places. It's the same document. So that's complexity number one. You have to manage all the documents and countersign them. And complexity number two is if they want to distribute the dividends, you have to keep all of that on a spreadsheet. And every time when they need to change the address in the bank account, they have to email that to you or fill out a Google form, and you update the spreadsheet. And that's what I did back in the day. Then when it's K1 season, you have to create different Google Drive folders, or you send them through email, or your accountant sends through them. And sometimes, email is irreversible. Once you send it, you cannot retrieve it back. So in case something happens, and then as an investor, do I want a way to check all my emails and check all the things that are coming in and then piece the puzzle together? Or do I want a centralized place that I can go to get everything I needed? And it's almost like a system of record for all my investments, alternative investments other than stocks. And so the need was there, and I experienced it viscerally because I am a syndicator. So I know exactly what that means, like what the pain points are. And then the hardest part is kind of building it, and then building out the company, building out the team. And it's also the most rewarding part. So I'll kind of pause there.
And how long have you been building and working on Cashflow Portal?
Yeah, I started working on it in April of 2020, believe it or not. I was still a engineering manager at Lyft. I was a good employee and was a good engineering manager and a good software engineer. And for a year and a half, I actually um, pay it out of my pocket, my own pocket, spend about 600K of my own money to hire 7 engineers and build it part time. I was still part time at Lyft for a year and a half because I'm actually very risk averse. Um, so before we raise any money, I spend 600K of my own money. And the thought process was I will take almost everything I make from Lyft, minus all the taxes, and then pour it into my startup. And if the startup fails, I lost money, but I don't lose anyone else's money. And I would just keep my job at Lyft. That was the thought process. I got permission from them, all that stuff, and they understood. And because I was a high performer, they're like, sure, go for it, because I was still doing very well at work. The turning point was so I started in 2020. 2020, we use a large syndication software for the race. That's not my own because the software was not ready. And I was very adamant that we should not use my own software because it's not ready. It's a very, very large syndication software, very famous. And then the second year, I used my own software. I was still at Lyft, so I couldn't disclose that I owned the company. And so the investor went through it. They're like, whatever you're using this year, it's better than last year. I was like, really? The other company is $1.5 billion valuation at the time. And so I see must be something here. So that's when I actually quit my job and apply to Y Combinator. And for those of the audience, Y Combinator is a Silicon Valley incubator program. Some of the alumni include DoorDash, Airbnb, Dropbox, Instacart, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe you started it just a shade under 3 years, because you've really come a long way. And I remember people talking about it, even 2 years ago. So kudos to you. Obviously, you must have an entrepreneurial mindset to obviously you're being a syndicator, you have to have that mindset and taking that leap of faith of starting this software company. Where did that develop, and how have you developed it over the years?
Yeah, good question. I grew up in a humble, kind of lower middle class immigrant background. My parents, we owned a Chinese American restaurant, and I didn't do much entrepreneurship when I was growing up. I was more academically driven. But I do remember multiple times that I asked my parents as a 10-year-old kid that why couldn't we do more advertising and why couldn't we hire more people so that we can open multiple restaurants like Panda Express. And they said that, well, we don't have money to hire another chef. And my response to that is, well, why couldn't we get some money, hire the chef? Otherwise, we never get out of this loop. And so so that was the extent, which is like I look at the advertising for other restaurants, like why couldn't we do that? Then when I went to college, I was still very academically driven. When I got a job, I always have side projects, like engineering projects. And sometimes we want a few hackathons and so on. Then real estate, I started with single family. I bought about 7 single families before going into syndication. So that became the next hobby. Then syndication was kind of the ultimate hobby, right? And so by the time I started a company, I could actually say I have not started a company before. And so that was actually one of the worries I have. I'm a solo founder. I am also a first-time founder. So, what legitimacy, what evidence do I have that I could succeed? I don't know. And, now looking back, I could make the argument that buying a syndication as a general partner is technically a business. It's absolutely a business. It's no longer about, rental income. That's important, but you are actually being a manager, managing the on-site management company, who in turn manages the on-site manager, who in turn manages the maintenance folks and so on. So that helps. The other thing that really helps is I became a engineering manager for 3 years before I quit Lyft. I was there for 5.5 years, and for 3 years of that, I was an engineering manager. Before that, I was a staff engineer. And I think I got the praise that I am a good manager. And business is a lot comes down to leadership and management. So yeah, so that's why I will answer. So I didn't have, it's not like I started multiple businesses before that. But then again, once we got into Y Combinator, they also say, a repeat founder is useful, but there are some of the biggest companies are built by first-time founders. Jeff Bezos, Amazon was their first company, and so on and so forth. But they also all have a kind of a track record or paper trail of success in what they do. And I will say to the audience that don't self-select yourself out just because you didn't have an entrepreneurial background. Being high performer at work is an indication already.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your story as a 10-year-old, how perceptive you were just to see the competition basically, and thinking about scaling up at such a young age to see that is tremendous. And obviously you have had experiences along the way, and some of the biggest skill sets you need. Obviously you don't need to know everything, but perseverance, problem solving, basic skills that you can learn anywhere are the foundation of being an entrepreneur. And certainly being part of the One Incubator, having mentors is just a huge help, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yes. I like that. The single most important ingredient to starting any business, let alone a startup, which has a high probability of failure, is persistence and perseverance. And the interesting thing about that is it's hard to determine if someone has grit based initially, because you might say that if they are confident on the interview or initially they have grit, but that's not exactly true. Some of the most low-key people are the grittiest when the shit hits the fan. They just don't show it. And then so it's really hard to determine a priori on who has perseverance.
Yep, absolutely. What was the biggest rocket fuel for Cashflow Portal?
Up to this point, we have not done any outbound marketing. We have not done any cold emails per se. We have not done any Facebook ads. We have not done any Google ads. And so why are we growing really fast? One is we really care about customer service and excellent response time. We have a WhatsApp group, and the customers can ask any questions that's dedicated to that customer. And our response time is less than 20 minutes. And when they have a bug they need to fix, we usually fix it in 24 hours or sometimes in the same day. So that kind of, my mindset has always been, take what we have, make the best out of it, and hopefully the universe is on our side to grow this pie. I would rather do it that way than do it in a way that try to get as much of the pie and do a okay job on all of them. Now, that actually has consequence. Sometimes I do wonder to myself, are we not being aggressive enough on chasing after more customers? But right now we're super busy, so it is what it is. So that's that. So that's one thing, which is really focus on the quality of the product instead of marketing. We should do marketing, and we will, but in the initial stages, it was all about, okay, I have 5 customers. Fine, let's do a great job on those 5. And then slowly they will refer. Syndication is a small world. Everyone knows everyone else almost. And then when they send out the offering link, the investors will click on the offering link. And so some investors might want to become syndicators one day. And a lot of people are in the same mentorship program, so on. So the technical term is it has a high virality coefficient. It spreads quickly. And I didn't plan it. It just happens that way. So that's definitely the biggest driving force, which is word of mouth. But word of mouth is a very vague term. But I think it's the combination. If I have to distill it to one sentence, is that we as a company care, and you cannot fake that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you do quality work, word of mouth will happen. People will talk about it. That's how we've, exponentially grown our business. And I was reading in, Facebook and other and hearing other people talk about how good this portal was. Like people would post, hey, I'm thinking about X portal, and I would see people talk about cash flow portal. So obviously I was interested. I'm like, hey, Jacqueline, you got to check this out. We're hearing really good things. Is this better than what we're currently using? And so, yeah, word of mouth is huge. And yeah, I definitely see how I saw it happening for your business. Absolutely. Where do you see Cash Flow Portal 5 years from now? What other
Our
things you might offer, stuff like that?
Yeah, our goal is to um go so our goal is to go IPO one day. When we join Y Combinator, that is what I signed up for. And so this is a decade-long journey. And so that's that. Cash flow portal, cash flow is the brand, portal is the feature. And so in the future, it's an umbrella under cash flow. And so we want to do more things that the general partners need. So right now we are an investor portal that helps streamline their backend office. What else do the investors, general partners need? They need to send out monthly updates, which we have, but they're spending a lot of time on those monthly updates. So in 2 months, we will have ChatGPT write the emails in less than 3 seconds. And we have cash flow KPIs that can keep track of all the KPIs. And so that will be a huge, really, really reduce the friction for people to send out emails. So cash flow KPI, cash flow, ChatGPT. And then what else does the general partner need? General partner wants to earn interest rate on the money they raise before they deploy that capital into their CapEx budget. And what if they can earn 4.5% to 5% interest rate on it in today's market? And we will introduce cash flow bank that allows them to put some of the money in a money market account, and they can set the threshold on what money they want it to be on the operating account, what money they want to be on the money market account. When the operating account goes down a certain threshold or certain percentage, we automatically allocate it, so they always have enough money on the operating. Now, this is a software layer bank. It's not the actual bank. We actually partner as a company with different banks. So imagine that we will partner with 10 banks. Each of the banks offer a $250K FDIC insure. So our FDIC insure is actually 2.5 million instead of 250K. So which is cash flow bank. Now, I want to mention something. That is something, it's really relevant because of the Silicon Valley Bank part. But that idea actually has been in my head for the last 6 months. We're just so busy that we never got around to, work on it. So that's useful. And I believe that's very useful. We have a sister website, Cash Flow Marketplace, which is what else does the general partner want? They want ability to kind of get more people to know them without their own investors, being exposed to the marketplace. And so we built that. And so the goal is to create a ecosystem, a list of tools that the general partners need, and that help them in different verticals of their business. And so you can deposit your money, you can run your operations, you can track your KPIs, you can send out updates really easily. That's all in sync. Property management software is very difficult, and that's kind of almost like a race to the bottom. And so that is something probably we do last, or never. I don't know.
Very cool. I'm pretty excited to see these new functions.
Which
over
are you
time.
most excited about?
KPIs.
Okay, why is that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're always measuring stuff, and what gets measured gets managed. So we always want to see where our bottlenecks are, what's performing, what's not performing. So it's data.
Understood. What another feature we're working on is cash flow underwriting, which allows you to drop in a T12 on a rent roll, and we automatically populates the underwriting model. You can do different scenario planning, like whether the GP wants a certain split. You can do sensitivity analysis with a click of a button, and so on. And so that thing is very math oriented, very mathy. And so the good news is that we've been hiring really good engineers, and some of these folks, perfect SAT score, almost perfect GPA, MIT, represent in International Math Olympiad, that kind of thing. And they're like, okay, well, if you like math, this is your underwriting tool. So it's all coming together to some degree, but again, it's one sentence. It will take us like a couple years to actually bring that to fruition. So yeah, the mindset shift for me was, we have done quite a lot in 3 years, but given what we know, the mindset shift is not to think that we have finished the things that people have. The mindset shift is, what else do the customers want? And is there something like that on the market? And if not, can we make it better? Right? There are many, many investor portals, and we have tremendous respect for our competitors. But even something that's pretty saturated, we can do a good job. We want to do a even better job on different parts of the general partners business. So yeah, I think the mindset shift is to think that we are still at the very, very early stage. Syndication as an industry is actually at the very early stage. That's what I believe, and it helps us to keep going. And we are very excited about the next couple years. And I want to take 2 years at a time.
Well, very cool. I mean, it's remarkable how much you accomplished, and to hear your vision is fantastic. I know for our underwriting tool, we're constantly massaging it, improving it, tweaking it, getting it better. Oh, this scenario, and I really believe it's one of our secret weapons, because of all the different things that it can do, and risk mitigation and everything. But excited to see yours when it's completed eventually. And it's been a pleasure having you on and sharing your entrepreneur journey, creating a tremendous portal, and not only that, but all these other, like you said, future companies under the umbrella. So really excited. Can you tell the listeners where they can find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, the best way is to email me at perry@cashflowportal.com. You can also go to our website, cashflowportal.com. And on the upper right-hand corner, there is a link to schedule a demo. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Perry Zheng. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much, Perry. This is Gary Lipsky signing off. I'll be back next week with another informative episode on the Real Estate Investor Podcast. To all of our listeners, thanks for joining us. And if you like this episode, please head over to iTunes or Stitcher and like, subscribe, and leave a review, as it will help us reach more people. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do at Break of Day Capital, head over to our website at breakofdaycapital.com and sign up for our newsletter and fill out our investor application. We'll talk to you next week.